you are going to miss out on many people you disagree with in life. If you're going to focus on pockets of their personalities and their lives that you don't agree with. I'm not easily offended, and I believe that for content and for greater learning, the greater good, we actually need to know how different people think.
Nkululeko on Cultr.
Nkululeko Nkewu, hello and welcome to yet another episode. Happy December. We're still working. It's December. It's very, very strange. Are you shooting content?
I am shooting content. Tomorrow's my last day of shooting content. I told my team, no, Cartel, I'm done. I need to take a break.
What happens then if they say you're affecting my bread? Because you pay them as you shoot with
Per
them.
session, ne?
Yeah.
Hey, so be it. I'm sorry. We'll be back soon, though. Very soon.
How do you feel about this?
I'm offended. I'm very offended because I understand being paid for each video.
So we've had this discussion with Cultr, and I'm like, Ish, it's December.
Yeah.
We need to find a way where I don't negatively affect your bread, your money. Because of course, like at some point, if I feel like I want to stop shooting, but yeah, we've found a way that
Please
makes.
share. Maybe it will work with
Well, it's not something that everyone could do, but I was like, I'm not gonna do. If in November I paid you X amount, in December, no matter whether we did one thing or did 10 things, I'll pay you the same amount.
Okay.
You know, so I don't think that everyone can pay people for work that they didn't do.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I've been thinking about the same thing, that maybe in lieu of a favor in the future.
No, I can't do that. Bro, I'm a very awkward person when it comes to dealing with people.
Yeah.
Like I deal with them straight. I know there's an integrity in paying someone for something now that they could do for you in future.
Yeah.
But I have insight with people that they could resent the fact that somewhere down the line in future they have to do it.
You want the money
You know what
back.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want the money back, but I would like, maybe I would say do something more of the same value.
And I
they're
was
like,
paid 3 months ago.
yeah,
for
they've
it.
forgotten
Yeah,
about it, you know,
yeah.
so you need to incentivize people all the time.
Yeah.
You know, tell me about the first time you saw $1 million on your bank account and why, what were the circumstances?
I saw $1 million in my bank account, funny enough, as an inheritance. And I was 20 years old. As an inheritance, I was like, what the hell is going on? Why are there so many zeros? My mother had passed away. She was a teacher by profession, which I was very annoyed because I was like, why is it so little? She worked for 24 years for me to get like just over $1 million. It was too little for me because I had so many plans in my head of what I could do about it, because I was the type of person who, there's a guy called Jason Lee, and I've read every book by Jason Lee, and his niche is making money through property, getting rich through property, retire rich through property. I even know all the book titles,
Sure.
right?
So you already worked it out in your head that you would do this and this and
Yes,
that.
that I'd gone viewed properties with no money yet, because knowing that it's coming, right? And I was like, this amount, really? I remember even going back to government employees pension fund and saying, are you sure? Show me how it was calculated. And then, it was calculated fairly.
You already, at 20 years old, you already had that wherewithal to confront situations.
Yeah. I had that because I was in third year doing my undergrad in engineering. And I realized, okay, I've got one more year of engineering. I need to make sure I pass now because I've got no one else. Because I was a single mom raised by her through thick and thin. Life was just me and her. She has no other children. So I was the natural heir, and I knew that I had to do something out of it because I'm not going to be like the rest of my family. I'm sorry to paint them like that, but I'm not going to be asking for things from anyone.
Yeah. That's a weird feeling though, like weird series of feelings that on one hand you're grieving, on the other you're standing up for the money, but then you have to ask yourself whether or not am I driven by greed, the question that I'm asking, am I grieving enough? Am I not too excited? And not grieving sufficiently. I don't know. I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
Those two contrasting feelings of you have to grieve, but you have to also stand up for the money. But then when you're standing up for the money, you have to ask yourself, am I not profiting from the death of my mother here?
Yeah. So I remember one of the best things that helped me then is that so my mother was in a coma for 2 months before she passed away. And before she went to a coma, she said to me, this is what I have. These are the bank account pins. Don't tell anyone. Everything is in your name if I don't wake up from this coma, because it was a medically induced coma.
Yeah.
So she could still speak. and they had to put her in a coma because she was in a critical condition. So I took those words and ran with them. And she said, if I do not wake up, you live alone already, you stay at school, you're far from everyone. Don't answer their calls until everything is sorted. And I trust you, you've shown me to be responsible even at a young age. It's all yours. You don't owe anyone anything. It's all yours. I've been working for you. That's it.
Okay. That's a lot to take in, but it's an incredible story already.
Yeah.
What was the relationship like with your mother then? And what were the circumstances that led her to a coma? First, the relationship and the build up to where she finds herself in a coma. Was she old? Was there a sickness that she had been battling with?
Yeah, my mother wasn't old at all. She passed away at the age of 45 or 46, if I'm not mistaken. My mother was HIV positive. She told me only, by the way, so surprise, surprise. The rest of the family just thought she had TB, which she did have TB as a Tiwani, a condition that comes with being HIV positive. Yeah. And then it became MDR TB, which is the TB that is drug resistant, medically drug resistant TB. So that's why she couldn't get help. She was just in a coma waiting to die because the TB medication that has been proven to get people healed from TB, her body said no to it. So she was just waiting for her day. That's why I think she had the guts, to tell me, this, and this exists, and this is what I have for you, and please execute it to the best of your ability. We had a very special relationship. I think as an only child, even as a boy, as a son, your mother naturally, in most cases, you become extremely close because single mothers have this tendency of almost treating us like their husbands. As boy kids. Yeah. So we had that relationship where we were always together. So we're carrying the household together. So it forced me to grow up quickly. I also did very well in school. I was an A student, first in my grade in high school. I just was that child. I got into engineering. Like none of her siblings' kids were able to do that. So it was just that natural star spoiled child, but not necessarily spoiled per se. It was like, he deserves it. I remember she would always, when people are like, you spoil Lungelo too much, she'd say, but he works hard for it and he deserves it. And you guys can see that he deserves it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that happened. And yeah, your second question?
I think you've covered it in terms of the relationship that you've had with her building up to the circumstances that led to her death, which is very difficult and tragic for you at the time. Did she say anything about your father and who he was, what kind of relationship they had, were they married? Did you have any opportunity to see him at some point?
Yes, my father is actually still alive.
Sure.
My father is still alive and we're not close at all. In fact, we had a fallout shortly after my mother's passing, I think a year after my mother's passing, because I just felt like he's just not present. It's like I have a new expectation of your presence once I no longer have a mother, you know. It deteriorated further. He got into spiritual things with umndeni wakhe. I started seeing weird chemicals. I'm like, okay, so now his family is going after me because there's a perception that I'm doing well, that I inherited money. Black families, we are Zazi.
Yeah.
And so I just took a decision to remove myself from the whole situation and cut them off.
Your mother didn't explain to you, Uguti, they had a solid relationship and they were maybe about to be married and why they left?
I'm getting there. Sure. They were never married, ever. My mother was a biology teacher. And I remember she had biology or life sciences, whatever it's called now, because I was never in that field. And she always had 100% pass rate. So she was also a very star teacher within the province in KZN because she worked them last. And she said, do you know I've declined 3 marriage proposals from your dad? Because he's not worth me. He doesn't know what he's doing with his life. As in daughter, his life is not together. So even their relationship was strained. But I could see that they break up, get back together. Break up, get back together. It was one of those. But I could see that it's strained. And I didn't want to be like him either. His life just wasn't together. He'd get a job, stop working, till se bizna loku, zama matendo, zama loku. I didn't want to be that. For me, I'd seen from my mom, at least, that she got an honest degree in education. So I could get a degree in something too and become something. I thought that's the natural progression of life, of how you become something. Because I could see it, at least, man, my mother's earning 20-something thousand. She's been able to buy herself a nice car. We're staying in a small apartment. I want more for myself, but at least that's a base that I can start from. Yeah. So that's what was emulated to me from my mother. And I really couldn't see anything from a dad that I could gain till this day. Unfortunately, I don't. And people always say, he's alive, go rebuild a relationship. I'm like, but it's going to be draining to me because I'm going to have to carry him, you know. For sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
I have a similar relationship with my mother.
Yeah.
I understand her circumstances, but I cannot be present in her life all the time.
Yeah, I can't.
I unfortunately, I can help out. I gave him a house in Cape Town, but I cannot. Like, I know how draining emotionally it will be, and how stressful it will be for me to carry that relationship and continue with that relationship. Doesn't mean that it's cut off, but I cannot be there all the time. With that being said, I've reflected on my relationship with her, and I'm 32, and I've had some time to reflect on it. That's why I've come to the conclusion that I accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
That when a phone call comes in, there's always some emergency. If I can help out, I can help out. Have you taken time to think about it, like with your father? Like, when you think about it, does it bother you? Like, I wish it could have been better.
2017, 18, 19, it bothered me a lot. And then I think in life, through when there's many punches regarding a situation, you wake up one day and you feel at peace about it. And after a lot of reflecting, so I've been at peace with not carrying the burden of him being around, as you're saying, where if I get a call, it will probably be an emergency.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's recently reached out. He didn't reach out to me. He went to my grandmother's house, my grandparents, because I'm very close with my maternal grandparents. Obviously, he knows them because he's tried to lobola so many times. And it's been rejected. So he went to them because he knows they have a sweet spot. And everything. He's gone to them and asked for my number. I'm still waiting for the call, by the way. And I'm fine with that, actually. My grandmother was like, so I gave him your number. I'm not sure how you feel about it. I'm like, that's okay. My grandmother was like, oh, but he's frail. He doesn't have a car anymore. You can see he's down bad. No haircut. Not looking appealing. And I was like, that's cool. You can call. Because clearly, I don't know. Funeral cover. I think it's one of those situations now. As black people, because that's what matters. Give me a dignified funeral.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. I mean, I suppose, and you make a very important point.
Yeah.
And I understand your stance against people who say, I think people, when they are removed from this situation, they're always advised from an abstract position.
Yes.
Because they had a relationship with their decent fathers.
Yes, a decent, healthy family relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, and they try to impose that on you. But I get your stance. I understand it. Like, every single time you're going to speak to him, it will be something that's a burden, something that's an emergency. You need to help out your step or your half brother or something like that. You're looking forward to that phone call? Maybe you're going to accept that phone call, but depending on what he asks from you, you may or may not do what he asks.
I may or may not do. As I said, I'm very at peace with the relationship as it is, and I will reflect on what he asks, because probably it's got to do with money. It's got to do with an explanation, which when I was still seeking for it, I didn't get.
Yeah.
So I'm at peace with no explanation. I'm really at peace. It's not even a case of I'm nonchalant. I'm just at peace.
Yeah.
So the explanation, it will come and it won't change my life, which is probably the sad part, because maybe he will expect a relationship from the explanation or some sort of steps towards building a relationship, but I no longer want it.
What does R1 million do to a 20-year-old? What happened to you then?
I think
from a family perspective, people try to contact you as your mother had expected.
Yes.
And from you using it and knowing what to do with it.
From a family perspective, people tried to contact me, and I removed myself more. Bad things were said about me. Ngipageme, I think I'm better. We're only waiting 6 months. Izophela yonke le mali. All of those. In terms of friends, I was always a nerd, so I didn't have much friends, so it wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue at all. I would go to school, sit in front in varsity in my lectures, get all my notes, go back to the commune I was staying in. So it wasn't an issue at all with friends. I wasn't introduced to alcohol yet, so lovely. There was no what that was involved in my life. No, nothing, absolutely nothing. Church boy also at the time. Lovely way to be protected. But there was some sort of an expectation at church, because what I did do is buy myself a little car. So it was clear that ngitholile imali. I bought myself a little car, and it was clear that I'm not uncomfortable. I'm okay. But how is he so okay while he's still studying? Yeah. It was clear. Yeah.
And then what do? You have a car?
Oh,
so we know for a fact that you did that.
A year later.
And then also that was a year later.
No, a year later comes now.
Okay, there was something you mentioned about real estate.
Yes, that's the year later. Sure. A year later now, I do buy my first property without telling anyone. I bought a small 1-bedroom flat in Glenwood in Durban. Not telling anyone. I go buy it cash for like 400 and something thousand, because property was still a bit cheaper then. I go buy it cash. I go through the whole process, because I've read. I know what the lawyer's fees should be, and I know how to negotiate. I've watched transfer duty. I've watched YouTube. All of this. I go, I buy. I even get a tenant in. Get an agent. Get a tenant in. Tell my grandmother, oh, by the way, I've got a flat. She was like, what do you mean? Like, yes, imali yapuma, by the way, also. Because she thinks I'm still waiting, because it's government. Everybody's like, it's probably going to take 2 years or whatever. I mean, it was like 5 months. I put imali, taking a flat. I bought a flat, I've got a tenant. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, but the black tax I give you every month, but don't you puma when? She's like, no, maybe there was still money in your mother's bank account. That's what I thought. I'm like, no, I took that decision. It's like, it's too far in. They can't comment anymore. I've done my own things.
Yeah.
Oh, now she asks, now she sees things wrong with her house. Because she sees things wrong with her house. And you know what? I get a builder guy, and I go to the hardware with the builder, and I swipe myself. I do things myself. Shame. I did do things for her and revamped the house a bit. I didn't change things, but I revamped what is existing to make it look decent, because there were areas that were just dilapidated. I do things, spent like almost 100K. I was like, this is where I draw the line. This is it. You're not getting anything further until I start working.
It never strained your relationship. Just get your mic close to you.
With my grandmother.
It never strained the relationship with her?
No, we're very close. We're very close.
She never had any unrealistic expectation of what you should be doing for her?
No, she's the only person. I think that's why we're still close today. And she just slotted into the relationship I had with my mother. She had no unrealistic expectation. In fact, it was other people saying, "Fana ngabukunika imali, befana ngabukunika no 300,000." And she never had any of those conversations with me. She just slotted in. I think she just felt the duty, because my mother was her only daughter, to take over as a mother to me. And we just had the good understanding. She saw that I'm finishing with school as well. I'm getting my degree. So I think because the bigger picture is stick closer to him for the future, rather than strain the relationship now. Yeah. And we've been close ever since. She's the one who takes all my money even now. And I don't mind, because we're that close.
Sure. And that's you received the money on your second last year, or your last year of your engineering? Second last year. And then you complete your engineering?
I complete my engineering, 4th year, final year. I failed a few modules, by the way. It wasn't that smooth in 3rd year, because of, I think, just the grieving process, and just everything was heavy on me. I failed a few modules, and then I go beg the dean literally on my knees and say, I'll overcredit. And I'll do 9 modules per semester, which was absolutely insane. I don't know why I did that.
I struggled with 4 modules in a semester.
I did 9 per semester in my final year, because I was adamant in finishing.
In that 1 year?
In that 1 year, in that 4th and final year. And somehow I did. I think I had a mark where I had a couple of 50s. I was like, yeah, I made it, guys. I made it. And in that process, I was doing vacation work for a company, which is the company I still work for now. And I've never spent a month without a job. Straight from university, Mina. I finished school, and January the 9th, I had a job.
Okay, and how old were you at the time when you graduated?
22.
22, and how old are you now?
28.
6 years straight.
6 years straight.
I've worked from age 20, I'm 32, I'm tired. Are you not tired at all?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
You've never done a gap year or anything like that? Like a year where you're not doing anything?
I'm so mad that I put all my money in property.
Yeah.
So I can't fully sustain taking time off.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You're an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What do you do?
I always pronounce it like, I always put it like this. If you think doctor, accountant, actuarial scientist, or actuary, pilot, what else? Advocate, engineer. Those are the so-called elite careers that people think of in the world. So I do fall part of those careers where even in the banking systems and whatever systems exist, you get preferential treatment. So I am in part of those careers. What an engineer does is that, because I'm an electrical professional engineer, think a person goes to school and can become an artisan. The artisan goes and fixes something in a company and bolts things together and tests that there's electricity coming to this machine. An electrician has the authority to test and say there is power and it can be turned on. An electrical technologist, I'm taking you up the levels. An electrical technologist studied at a university of technology. So a TUT, a DUT,
CPUT.
a CPUT, and they get a Bachelor of Technology in whatever engineering field. And then an engineer gets a Bachelor of Sciences in Engineering honors. And so many people call themselves engineers, they're not. The only person who's allowed to call themselves an engineer went to university and they did the minimum 4-year Bachelor of Science in Engineering degree. Then you can be an engineer. And then the Engineering Council of South Africa, you register as a candidate engineer. So what you do as an engineer, you conceptualize the systems. So if you see a Moses Mabhida Stadium, if you see an Eskom factory or an Eskom power station that's being built, there are engineers who designed it from first principles, from scratch, from the science that it exists. So there's an electrical engineer that will be involved who specifically deals with how to bring the electricity to life. Then there'll be a structural engineer because the machines need to be on structures and you need to calculate what's the loading for those structures. Then there'll be a mechanical engineer, what and what not. And then those people have the people who went to DUT who they tell how to go implement that on the field. And then those people have the workers who did artisans, technicians who connect the power of the calculations that the engineer did. So that's the hierarchy of what an engineer does. But all in all, now that I'm a professional engineer, because I've gone through the stages of doing reports and I've done enough reports and EXA recognizes me as a professional now I sign off the installation. So if something is wrong and the power station at Eskom has been turned on, I'm liable for 5 years if anything was to go wrong. But when I say go wrong, I mean if someone was negligent.
Yeah.
If there was a fundamental design flaw and if I was a civil engineer and the building and the bridge collapsed, that's a fundamental design flaw. Why did the bridge collapse?
Would you be liable or your company that you work for be liable for it? Or would you lose your license?
I get to lose my license as a professional engineer and I can't work as a professional engineer anymore.
Sure.
I can't sign off anything. So like any other fraternity for accountancy or for law or whatever, I can't sign off anything. So the company obviously would be asked. The company then comes and says, who signed it off? And then the professional engineer who's in charge of the company and myself are going to be in court. Yeah.
That's interesting. On a weekly basis, what do you do?
It depends because now I'm a consultant engineer. So I have different clients who have different expectations. Some of them I'm auditing their installations. Some of them I'm designing from scratch. Some of them I'm doing a feasibility study to say a project is viable or not. So a feasibility study is Hello, Mondi, or SEPI, or ESCOM. You require funding from IMF. You require funding from World Bank. You need to prove to World Bank how much this project will cost so that World Bank can decide if they will make a profit, if they will make their money back over the years as you pay back the loan. So, and then only an engineer can do that because the engineer understands the intricacies of what the project is. The engineer is trained to even be a project manager, trained on the finance side of it. Yeah, you can't give that to a person who only understands how to turn on the machine and run the machine, who could be just a technician.
Can you take us through a simplified salary scale from when you started? What were you doing to where you are now? What are you doing? We've already explained what you do now, but when you started, when I started at a call center, I got 3,500.
Yeah.
Then I started training people. I got like 8,000, and then higher a little bit. Then I got like 14,000. Then I stopped. I became a journalist.
So if you're hired as an engineer, either by an SOE or by a consulting firm, you will not start as an engineer who has a BSc in engineering or BEng in engineering coming from a UKZN, UCT, a WITS,
Sure.
AUP. You're definitely not starting on anything less than 24,000 Rand gross, which is a little for what we do.
Yeah.
But in a South African context, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still a little.
It's still a little, right? And then it's up to you how you design your career. For me, it took me 5 years to become professionally registered. Let me bring context. There's only there's only maybe 1,642, I don't remember the stat correctly right now, professional engineers in South Africa.
Who are certified, accredited.
Who's registered as a PR-Eng. So for me, it says Lungelo Nkewu brackets PR-Eng. I can write that wherever I go. In brackets PR-Eng. There's a title that follows me around, that a person who's not professionally registered can write. 1,642 are black. 14,000 in total in the country. Only 1,642 are black. In this black, there's colored and Indian. So I actually don't know the stat of black.
African.
Of African.
Which could be like somewhere between 1% and 3%, maybe.
Yeah. Of the
total.
Of the total 15,000.
Okay.
Yeah. In the stat also, there's also PR Tech Eng. Remember I said there's something called an engineering technologist. So there's PR Eng and PR Tech Eng. That person they got a degree from a DUT, VUT, CPUT. So the stat is even smaller for PR Eng, right? And there's various small difference of what you can sign off and what the PR Tech Eng can't sign off. But there is things that there's a value and a rating that they can't sign off, that a PR Eng is required. That's the ultimate of the hierarchy. Sure. Okay. So since there's so few of us, once you get that certification, your LinkedIn, your email, you are flooded by recruiters. They want you. So you'll probably stay in the 20-something, maybe 3 years later, you're on 30-something. Now, by the way, there are 40-something-year-olds who are not PR Eng because it's so difficult to get the certification. And they're probably chilling on 40-something for the rest of their lives because they've got the experience, but you can't sell them to clients and internationally as a company because they are not PR Eng or PR Tech Eng, right? If you are PR Eng, PR Tech Eng, at my age, you can be making 70,000, 80,000 Rand a month gross. But how you push it further in corporate, you will exceed the 100,000 Rand a month. Yeah.
Okay.
In your 30s. Yeah.
We've spoken for 30 minutes. It feels like an hour. Not that it's a trick. It's a lot of information, but it's dope. It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
I
also because there's not many black engineers. So
yeah. I mean, the first time you invited me to Durban, to your studios, and you broke it down to me that you're an engineer, I was like, maybe this is the first time I've met an engineer.
Yeah.
Particularly a black one.
Yeah.
So yeah, in many ways, we are trying to redirect kids. If there's like matriculants and people who don't know what they need to do. I mean, some jobs, like your cap is like anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 until the rest of your life.
True.
So with your field or your line of work, the possibilities are endless. Of course, it's difficult.
It is difficult, but it's beautiful, man. Ever since I've been registered, my life has been weird, man. The level of respect I get, even in the industry, even with other people who don't know about the industry, but they just know the title. Getting recruiters from the UK wanting me, that's crazy. It also speaks to the fact that the Engineering Council of South Africa is still recognized, which is good, because there are many other careers where South Africa is like, who cares?
What's the balance between, this is a trivial question, because I suppose if you're making bread, the balance between being happy in your job and having a happy private life is not that important, but of course we usually stress that. It's like, if you're working for 20,000 rands and you have to work like 60 hours in a week, that's stressful, that's too much, and then you have like a deteriorating private life.
Yeah.
So how's your balance? Although the incentive financially for you is like, even if the balance was poor, you still have a good incentive to focus for as long as you want to on the work. But how's your individual situation? Like, are you finding that you have enough time to be able to hang out, to be chilling, to even learn more about yourself, to read books, to date and stuff like that?
I think with the nature of the person who I always am, who was ambitious, I made peace early with the fact that a lot of my time will be spent on the hustle. And I had to align myself with people who are on the hustle. I remember you and I had this conversation, Uguti, you don't have time for chit chat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm exactly like that.
I don't like chit chat.
Right? I don't like chit chat. So if majority of the people around me are not going to be calling me, WhatsApping me unnecessarily, then it means busy song and we all get it. So our relationships are not strained because it means we're all in that same trajectory.
Yeah.
So now,
so you specifically want communication that is, I would like this from you at this time. Can you do it? And then you could say no or yes.
Right? That's me for majority of people around me. Unless we are very close friends or you are my partner. Obviously, that's a completely different relationship. To the extent that, I don't know, maybe this could be problematic because I'm very intentional in my dating life. Like my current partner is a medical doctor. Busy now, so it's good. It works. Busy now. Like sometimes I'm at crazy hours. They go on call. Good, excellent. Because most of the time we're intentional about when we are free together and we will make that time for each other.
But that's not something that regular people get. They don't understand that. Like regular people don't understand that you can be purposeful and intentional and be on the hustle, and not have time for trivial nonsense.
Yeah.
There's the expectation from your family that I got a text last night at around 11 p.m. From a person that I dearly love, was a cousin of mine. But I was like, bruh, I'm half asleep. And that was the end of that. And I think to someone else, it could come across as cruel. I've had feedback from people who say, this is cruel. You're not even listening to a voice note of 2 minutes. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So you seamlessly, you and your partner currently seamlessly transitioned into this thing of whenever you're available, I'm available, then we can kick it.
Whenever you're available, I'm available. Let's align our leave and take wholesome holidays where we're not going to be on our phones and we'll spend 2 weeks just away, just being together. So things like that you need to be intentional about. Like you're right, I got a random video call at 10 p.m. last night from a family member. A video call. How rude can you be, right? And for me, things like that, it doesn't even hurt me anymore to not answer things like that. Because first of all, if it was important, you're going to text me after. And then still after the text, I'm going to decide if it's worthy of a response. I'm sorry, I'm just that type of person. Even with my friendships, my friends are busy. Busy, man. I've been busy. And we don't take it personally that you missed this event or you didn't attend that. Obviously, we can't get it perfect all the time. But generally, I'm in a very peaceful place. I'm very calm in how I do things. And I think I have a decent balance, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that what you're describing is someone who's happy with the imbalance.
Yeah.
You are content with the fact that you're not going to get balance. And I think I've accepted that too.
Yeah.
That's why when I spoke to you, I was like, I didn't struggle so that I can look at homeworks. Homeworks Abandwan.
Yeah.
I didn't dedicate my life so that I can then be bogged down by homeworks for 3 hours per day. You know what I'm saying? So I had to find a solution for that. It's still an imbalance though. maybe you can counter what I'm saying, but it's still an imbalance. It's just that you are happy about it. Like you're content that it's an imbalance that you can work with.
I agree that then that's why I said I'm surrounding myself with people who have similar imbalances. So it doesn't feel disingenuous. It's harmonious, right? Like I remember I just started working, and because for me it was like, okay, I'm alone. I don't have much responsibilities. I'm getting this rental income, so it's extra income for me. And I remember the first thing I bought myself when I moved into a little flat was a dishwasher. And my colleagues were like, you live alone, what are you doing with a dishwasher? I'm like, I read, I consume good content. There are other things I'm trying to work on. 30 minutes a day washing dishes is not my portion. It's a lot of time wasted for me.
Yes.
And it seems trivial to the next person.
Yeah.
You know, I even have a helper now, and people are like, but you live alone. I'm like, ironing my clothes, hanging them, washing dishes, mopping the floor, not my portion.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
That's like a full day exercise. If it's a Saturday and I've got a Saturday off, I'm resting and sleeping. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So you're content with that imbalance.
Yeah.
I get it. But a lot of people don't get it though.
It comes from people say it's from a point of privilege. I think I've worked for that privilege.
Yeah, of course. You work towards that. You work to a point of comfort.
I have.
You can pay someone to do something that you don't have to do. You know.
And it's really something you don't have to do. We were drilled into thinking you need to be doing these chores to be a person on
So before we lose people by moaning about nice life problems, at most, what, if you're comfortable talking about this, at most, what has been your collective income from rental accrued from your properties? So what is your property portfolio looking like now? Maybe just give us the range, and then maybe what range are you making collectively? 30,000 K from the rental, 20,000 per month, generally, like in what range? And are you happy with that? Are you finding it a lucrative exercise for you?
The way I've been doing it is normal. Buy a property, rent it out. People have a lease, and I'm currently disinvesting because being a person who's explored content, who's explored even my other life that you haven't gotten into, social media influencing.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's quicker ways of making money.
With less aggravation.
With less effort. So I've been averaging between, depending on how many tenants and how I've split it, anything between 12 to 18,000 a month.
Over 2 or 3 year period? Like a consistent period?
Yeah.
Okay.
Consistent period. And now that I am where I am, I think it's because of my career has grown personally. I earn better. I've got additional income from social media influencing. Slowly but surely, my YouTube is going to start giving me income. I'm like, hi, man, there's other ways of making money. There's quicker ways, you know. So I'm trying to disinvest in property to reinvest in other ways, not leaving property completely. But yeah, man, guys, there's other ways of making money. The whole being sold that property is the hill only, it isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose you would even have to go and attend because someone broke windows. There was a domestic fight. There was a quarrel.
Right.
Someone didn't switch off the water on the washing machine, and then everything is flooded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's like a lot of aggravation.
Stress that I don't need.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point in my life, as I'm saying, I'm trying to minimize my stresses and maximize my profit.
Okay, cool. Can we talk about not necessarily your relationship, but your relationships? What's your romantic relationships? What's something that you've noticed that's constant about you? Are you finding it easy to be with people? Do you spend time with people, or you spend a year and then you move on to someone else? What kind of a partner are you? Well, if you think about it, you're trying to frame yourself as a perfect romantic partner.
No, I'll be brutally honest. I was in a 5-year relationship. It ended in 2018, 2019. I'm now in a 2.5-year relationship that started in 2020. So I am a person who believes in the long haul.
Sure.
Why do I believe in the long haul? And I forgive things. because stability for me matters. I think.
What do you mean when you say you forgive?
Siyahlupha, man. Siyahluphana as people, Nkululeko. We're problematic towards each other. You know?
So now you are problematic.
I'm problematic, yes, and I've been forgiven. And I've begged for forgiveness. You know? People are beautiful and we stray. And I've been forgiven. You know?
Yeah, please continue. Don't mind me laughing.
Yeah. And I've been forgiven.
Continue to incriminate yourself.
It's okay because we as mnikazi wendaba. As long as mnikazi wendaba azi, nobody else matters.
Sure. You do long term for what intention? For companionship, for marriage, with the intention for marriage?
No.
Or?
I feel marriage is a systematic thing. And I always tell my partner that if we are going to get married, we must see that it's going to make a financial benefit to us. Because the system of marriage, all it does is make government and financial institutions feel more comfortable about you being a person in this world. That's all they ever gain from you guys getting married, especially if you're married in community of property. It makes them the most happiest people in the world. But other than that, marriage, which could end in divorce, is problematic to you as the people involved. It's actually more detrimental to maybe the finances you would have built personally when you weren't together, or the things you would have built when you're together, or just the involvement of family members and the whole drama around it as Black people. For me, it seems too complicated and too messy, and I'm happy with companionship.
Well, these long-term relationships can be contemplated to be common law marriage at times. I don't know the specification or the exact amount of time you need to be together for it to be considered that. Because as you mentioned something about building your personal finance outside the union, I'm thinking that I've listened to a case where it was being argued why the person deserves half of your money. And one of the justifications was that, for example, in a man and woman scenario, the woman is abandoning her dreams, raising your children, creating a healthy environment for you so that you can thrive in your career, in business and stuff like that. And that's why she deserves half. I don't agree with it, but I've understood how they get to that point. And it's a generally accepted thing where she deserves something. Where now in your case, and I think where I'm trying to get at is this thing of you stay long enough, that thing is also applicable. I think it's common law or whatever it is.
To an extent,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, to an extent, it can be described as, well, you've been together for 5 years. This can be seen as a marriage. This person lost opportunities as a result of dedicating themselves to this union or this relationship.
This is another exclusive for your channel. Without sounding like I'm taking advantage of a problem that exists in this society that's very deep, where people are removed from society for being who they are, right? A lot of those things don't apply to me because I've never dated a woman.
I get that. But
yeah.
I'm trying to understand, Uguti, when it's a union of the same sex, is it not contemplated that one is bambezelling the other and therefore it can be construed as common law marriage? I don't think it's exclusively about bambezelling. It's about the length of time you've spent together for it to be contemplated as common law marriage. So that when one partner, I think it happens in the death of stars, celebrities, that one partner is claiming, look, we were together. This is interesting actually, because I don't know much about it, but I suspect that if you stay together for this amount of time, it can be construed.
I've also heard of that. But Nkululeko, if we've stayed together, let's say you stay with your partner in your house together, and the house is in your name.
Yeah,
that's your mistake. It shouldn't be in your name. So, rule number 1:
enlighten us.
Company. Open a company. The company owns the property. You are a director of the company. It's not yours. It's a business. It's a property business that has properties in it that are making income, and the income pays you a salary as an employee who happens to be a shareholder of the company.
Oh, by the way, thank you for that. I wanted to remark that you are wearing Maxhosa socks.
Wow!
Just to break the ice. I was thinking about it as you were mentioning my salaries or my engineers. Why you always look dapper though? Because you always look dope. Like you always look clean.
I think if there's one thing where in this whole ambitious, intelligent thing, my one guilty pleasure is wasting money on clothes. I do.
How much are socks? Are they worth as much as sneakers?
Yes.
Like how much? Please.
I've done worse. My closest socks are cheap. Yeah.
Uchelo is stunned as hell. Now I'm stunned. Sorry. I buy sneakers for 1,000 or 2,000.
What?
I can afford more, but
yeah.
I feel bad after a certain amount. It's like I feel. That's why I don't have clothes. You were telling me about that Inkomazi shirt. It looks like my uniform. I'm like, nah. After a certain amount of expenditure on clothes, I'm like, I can't go past this.
I've got a couple of sneakers. Even I recently bought sandals. That's why I'm judging myself that are the price for the camera.
So it would be very difficult for anyone to buy you a birthday gift. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So you charge a gift 500.
No.
Particularly if it's something to be worn.
I will charge it if you're my partner, but not if you're somebody else. If you're my partner, you know what you're getting into. Like, you know what you're getting into.
You are a fascinating human being. I'll tell you that much. I don't want us to pigeonhole ourselves into discussing relationships too much. But I'm happy that you were able to open up about that. Is there, in your envisioning of the future, it's weird to be 28 years old, you don't have all your stuff together.
No, you don't.
So it's weird for me to even ask you stuff that, because I remember that when I was 28, I'm still young, 32. I remember when I was 28 that this was a vague image. Everything that's happening was a vague picture, but I knew what I'm gonna pay.
It still is.
Yeah. So,
it's getting clearer than it was, I'd say, 3 years ago. Yeah. And I think there is quite a jump you do from like 23, 24 to 28. You're a completely different person.
Yeah.
So it is definitely getting clearer, yeah.
So for me, I'm tempted to ask about the little ones. For you, they don't feature anywhere in your picture. Go to Uzobanengane at some point in the future.
No.
You don't care for them.
Don't give a rat's ass. So this is why people have children, most cases. Heterosexual people. This is why you have children. Because you want to leave a legacy. That's what people say. They want to leave a legacy. Is having sex for 2 minutes and leaving a legacy? No, it isn't. If Lungelo KM or Lungelo Eng is known as either one of the best engineers or scientists in the world, or I'm known as an amazing broadcaster, I won't have to make a child to leave a legacy.
That's solid legacy.
That's solid legacy. I've changed lives in the process actually there. Right now, I have got cousins who have kids. And you know what? They actually have, some of them have access to me. They can call me to ask help for studies. They can call me to ask help what they must apply for. They can have a matric dance and say, Mzala, ngishota ngo 1.5. Khona ngizokwazi ukuthenga leya ngubo. I've done enough. Why am I bringing somebody else into this world who needs 60,000 Rand school fees?
I respect that.
Yeah.
But it's difficult for me to take it as a definite answer because you're not 40 yet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I hear you.
Over the course of time, you could change. I have so many things I was
adamant about.
And I'm starting to be persuaded. You know, there's one child that I have in this world. And I thought, you know what, this is it. Because exactly what you're saying, 60,000 Rand school fees.
That's what people are paying now.
18 years, or it even exponentially grows by the time she's 18 and university fees.
Yeah.
I thought one is enough. I'm being persuaded slightly different, but I'm still at one. You know, so when you grow older.
Also maybe I'm young and my priorities maybe, I don't know, are materialistic.
Sure.
And I'll take that. And that's
okay.
fine. And that's okay.
That's okay.
So must I trade in my German thing for a small SUV that drives slow up a hill? I can't do that at this point.
Priorities are reflective of a 28-year-old child. Yeah.
You know?
And you shouldn't feel guilty about that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have a child or children somewhere being fed by people who are
and
crying.
I'm fully aware I've never made them nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Bengizokubuza ngabo bottom nabo top, but I'm not.
No.
I'm not.
Very trivial.
I'm fighting against myself not to go there. Otherwise, I was gonna ask you about tops and bottoms.
Yeah.
But okay. Social media influencer.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something about the campaign that you once did,
mm-hmm.
and it gave you like 20, 15K, stuff like I couldn't grasp it,
mm-hmm.
but I'm also like in the digital space. I could understand it, but I'm like, oh, that's a lot of money for a short campaign. Take us through that journey. How did you become a media influencer, a social media influencer? Was it an influencer from the perspective of you being Lungelo KM and then them using your brand, or you were influencing on the basis of your understanding for social media and digital media, and you were helping companies with their campaigns besides them knowing your name? Because those are two different things.
I get you. Yeah. It's me being Lungelo KM and then a brand noticing a following that I have on a certain social media platform, be it Instagram, Twitter, and saying, oh, typical. If it were TV or radio, we just want to tap into that audience. It's typical. It's a trade exchange. We're tapping into that audience.
Yeah.
And then
so initially when these happen, you are at how many followers? Like I don't know. I'm not on Twitter or anything. I don't know how big you are on those spaces.
Yeah.
Was it based on your following or people knowing you as a socialite in Durban?
Quick explanation of how I got there. I only started social media in June last year. What year we? June 2021. That's when I started. I had no social media.
All social media.
All.
Oh.
I had no social media before that.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
I was one of those people who was like, what is it for? And then I did research. And then I had friends who were making money off social media. I'm like, what? Another way to make money? And then my friends just said, I looked Instagram, okay. Oh, people, if you curate your Instagram's profile in a certain way, it appeals to people. Once again, at YouTube, and I did the research. I start my page from 0 in June 2021. Currently, I think my Instagram is on 16,000 followers. I was on 0 then. And then, so I just build it, take cute pictures that are well shot with photographers, just put it and treat it like a production, self-funding that. And then I think at like 8,000 followers, I get my first email from a brand, because now I've branded it as like a proper social media person. Hi, please may I have your rate card? Because I've learned that you must have a rate card ready because somebody will approach at some point.
Yeah.
I sent that rate card and there was no dispute. I was like, what? And that, I think it was like 2,000 Rand if I post a picture, just a picture, take a picture with your product on my Instagram, 3.5 if it's a video, things like that. It went well for like a month, and then the campaign, I think it lasted 7 months, and we ended up doing a package deal where I will do a number of deliverables at 15,000 Rand a month. Yeah.
Huh. Well, you are a good-looking man. And
so I saw that pretty privilege also.
Yeah, I was about to go there. That's not something that all of us would get.
Absolutely.
You're a gay man, good-looking man as well. So, because 16,000 is not a significant audience. It's big. Not everyone can get it.
Yes.
But there are other people who are on 200,000.
Yes.
For example, and we're not getting the same.
Yeah.
It's pretty privilege.
Pretty privilege, and also positioning privilege. Remember that on social media now, with influencing, brands are starting to tap into people who appeal to certain people. So I need to mean my content gives off higher middle class, bit aspirational because of my profession. So we tapping off to, and the brand immediately thinks they're tapping into other professionals. You are followed by other professionals. Yeah.
I see.
So it's also a very niche market that we're not chasing you to have big numbers, but if we can reach 10,000 professionals from your audience, we've done a lot. Yeah,
it's interesting because it's a similar case to what is happening on radio, that whereas Ukhozi FM has like between 6 and 7 million listeners.
Yes.
And those are numbers that are accepted.
Yeah.
And then 702 has around 600,000 listeners.
Yeah.
But 702 gets more money, significantly more money in advertising revenue.
Yes,
even though they have like 10 times less the audience of Ukhozi. And that is largely because of the LSM, the nature of the people who are listening there have more buying power.
Yes.
I even made the argument to someone that you could take randomly 10 people who are listening to 702, particularly if you get them white or Indian, and then random 10 people from Ukhozi, or random 1,000 people from Ukhozi. The 10 will have more money than the 1,000 on the other. So that's interesting that they were looking at your audience.
I agree with that, because I remember when just later into the, when you start getting close to brand managers because you've done a campaign for long, I'm like, why did you select me? Because I was one of the 4 brand ambassadors. It was for a beer campaign, but it was for a premium beer. So the beer was already existing. They had beers in a brown bottle, but now they were launching beer that had a gold and green can, so that it appeals to a premium audience. And they said, your numbers weren't high, but we were doing a conversion process where you normally are on vacations, you're on site, you're traveling to different countries. So you appeal to people who go on flights and all of that. And we are saying to those people, you mustn't only ask for whiskey in the flight. There's a premium beer option now.
Yeah.
And you mustn't feel bad about drinking beer because it looks good. It's got a gold can. So we are actually doing a conversion process where the person who was supposed to be drinking champagne, they look at beer. Yeah.
That's
that
interesting.
whole LSM thing you say.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you can have a lot of people who don't have enough money.
Yeah.
And then you can have like 50 people who have more money than 1 million people.
Than 1 million people.
Which is very interesting. And of course, I'm sure it's racist. If you look at it microscopically, you could find that it's racist. Like someone is disproportionately getting an insane amount of money, even when you can prove that the conversions are not that great.
Yes.
Mercedes could go and advertise on 702 and not on Ukhozi FM, and that on face value is valid because of course Ukhozi, the audience is different to 702. But then if you microscopically look at it and interrogate it, if you ask them how many people bought your Mercedes
after that,
as a result of the conversions, if the number is 0, but they will still come back with another campaign next year for another Mercedes, you'll find that they've just developed a relationship with those people and they're comfortable. Money is exchanging with white businesses.
And also, Nkululeko, brand alignment also matters because the deliverable might not always be conversion. Sometimes it's brand awareness.
Okay.
Right?
That's a good point.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Sometimes it's brand alignment, the deliverable. So being aligned with a 702 listener and advertising on 702 versus being aligned with a Ukhozi FM listener as Mercedes-Benz maintains the brand of Mercedes being there consistently over the years. So they will pretend like people who listen to Ukhozi don't drive Mercedes, but they do.
Because there are some.
Right?
It's possible that it could be argued that with that mass number, you could get at least 10, 50 people who could, in the next 12 months, buy as a result of listening or hearing it on Ukhozi. That's why I'm saying if you literally interrogate it, you could find that it's just racist. And I've seen it, like being involved in businesses that, these people just deal with each other. They just, the money, 50,000 here, 100,000 there, 500,000 there. But there's not necessarily great performance. It's just that the money is exchanging white business hands. And I've noticed it. But of course, it is what it is. We have wording for it. Like as we were saying, brand alignment, LSM, affordability and stuff like that. But you could, if you interrogate it.
All those things are racist, but we say it anyway.
Exactly. Do you see yourself as a member? Because we spoke about this and I was critical of feminism, but within reason. Not necessarily critical.
I know where your question is going. Yeah.
I was not bashing, but I was being critical. I was critically analyzing some of their behaviors. Do you see yourself as a member of a group first and foremost, and do you behave in a way that's in line with your group? Because you could make the argument that because you've interviewed myself or Nota or Penuel, someone who's gay can be influenced by groupthink to not interview that. Even Ungizwe, for example, when you interview and you talk to people and you disagree or agree with them based on the interaction, which is a decent thing to do, which is exemplary and something we should all do as human beings. But then we understand that there's groupthink, this pressure by one particular group to think collectively and say, that one is a basher of women. We've seen receipts of that person or this man or woman bashing this group or our collective community, and therefore we don't want you to associate with them. How do you wrestle with all of that? Do you see yourself being part of that group, particularly as a thinker or sharing the same thoughts? And how do you navigate around the criticism that could be leveled against you to interview people who may have clearly bashed the community that you could be perceived as belonging to? That was a long question. I'm sorry.
It's a good one though, because we're finally in Dlalele.
Yeah.
I have no choice but to belong to the community, because as a minority group, there are inherent struggles that you will always be fighting, and that there are discriminations that you can't ignore. It's human injustices. But Lungelo is human first. And I identify as human first. And I believe across the spectrum as humans, we're actually all going through the same things here. We're actually all battling the same mental health problems. Maybe for some people, they're exacerbated. They're higher, they're more problematic, their mental health problems because of their circumstances. But as a queer man living in South Africa, there are fights that other people who've elected themselves to be activists, I've left it to them. I'm not an activist. That's just me and the life that I live. I'm not an activist. Inherently, as I'm saying, I acknowledge injustices. I will not perpetuate injustices.
Yeah.
And I will, if given the platform, I will condemn injustices.
Yeah.
But and anybody can lie and say, no, I will stand for the truth all the time. No, we don't. As humans, we don't stand for the truth all the time. Where it serves me, I will condemn them. And if it doesn't, I'll probably keep quiet. Because once again, I'm not an activist. Maybe for activists, it is a deep passion and it means more to them to fight for injustices loudly, boldly, all the time. Because I understand the problems, if an activist comes to me who has that vision to spread positivity and a good message, definitely I will consider having you on my platform. Definitely I can donate to your cause financially, because those are the means and the things I've built that mean a lot to me.
What is your feeling as you were engaging with Ngizwe?
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the contradictions that you were feeling internally, if any? How did you look at that interview? I know how would you look at it as a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have the same bias and we have the same intention. It's numbers first. You're growing this baby. You need to take care of it. You need to feed it with as big interviews as possible so that it can grow. But as a gay man, what was your feeling? Did it even cross your mind that you are conflicted as you were doing that interview with Ngizwe?
It did cross my mind. That there's a particular moment where he spewed a term that some people deem as problematic, and he used that term, and it did conflict me for a moment. But as you're saying, when you're conducting an interview, at that moment, your quickest impression is to come back to your senses and continue talking in the interview. But upon reflection, I'm not a person who is easily offended. And maybe I come from a point of privilege, because I haven't experienced deeply the same injustices as a queer man who is queer black man in South Africa, because I've been able to buy my way out of the injustices. You live in a nice suburbs, you live in your own house, you drive your own car, you've got a budding career, right? So the personal aspect to it, personally, it was like, hey, that he shouldn't have said that. That's not right in the greater community. But once again, I'll say this, in my own privilege, I acknowledge that it becomes something you move on quickly from. And I'm that person, not even just as a community member. Nkululeko, to be where you and I are in life, people bayaktuga, they say bad things about you, they speak ill of you, and I think I just take it as one of those, and my brain just quickly digests and move on.
Yeah.
Just as a person who's worked hard, I don't dwell a lot into something that's negative that has happened.
That's a good quality.
I really don't dwell a lot. So it came from that point of view where I didn't dwell.
You see, like, so as you're saying that, you see, you are multiple things, but in that moment, you are a queer black man and you are a content creator. Now, the content creator during the creation of the content supersedes the queer man.
Yes.
But then there's reaction to content.
Yes.
Do you think that you would be able to call him again and do an interview again?
Yes, I'd call him again. Yes, I'd call him again. Because he used a particular term that
the other thing is that someone else could substantiate their reasoning for arguing that you shouldn't call him again. That's not me. I wouldn't do that. I don't care for that. But someone else who belongs to the queer community would say, here are videos, and I think I've seen Ngizwe, because it shoots from the hip and it talks trash sometimes. Someone could say, here are videos where in other instances, I think I've seen it for a fact, that he says, it expresses his feelings against gay men. So if they show you that and you remember what happened in your interview, given that, you would still do the interview. Because that person who's arguing for you not to invite him would give you maybe the receipts. Here's a video where, I don't want to mention that name. Please continue answering the question. I'm almost tempted to say.
Don't, please. For your own good.
No, nothing is going to happen to me. Nothing is going to happen to me. I just need to state that, but I'm being respectful.
Yes. It's funny because I'd even invite that lady there was a voice note and she was saying things about black people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it.
So do you know what I mean? So maybe that injustice to you means more to you.
Yes.
So to me, maybe then I am problematic because I'm saying...
No, don't describe yourself as problematic.
Yeah.
You are taking a stance of saying this doesn't offend me as much as everyone else does.
Yeah. I'm not easily offended, and I believe that for content and for greater learning, the greater good, we actually need to know how different people think because we don't exist in silos. And furthermore, with Ngizwe specifically, if you're going to dwell in that 10 seconds of that moment in a 1-hour interview, where if you go into that comment section, or you as a critical thinker, a listener, and listen to all the highly intelligent things he said of how to conduct yourself as a human, about the political system in this country, about the black consciousness, about human consciousness, you are going to miss out on many people you disagree with in life. If you're going to focus on pockets of their personalities and their lives that you don't agree with. And I am not a person who dwells on pockets and personalities of people that I don't agree with.
You've satisfied me. I was asking you something that intersects between you and the community that you, by mere virtue of your sexuality, belong to, and their past behavior in terms of enforcing groupthink. I am sure that they wouldn't want you to invite him. You've answered the question that you would do
things.
They
didn't want me to invite, the people who didn't want me to invite Jackie, the people who said, why do I have Nota on my show again?
You've answered my question.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand that. You said this is a very interesting conversation actually. And I'm loving it. I just want to put it out there.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You've said to Penuel that long term you want to have a show. I'm paraphrasing, but ultimately perhaps the dream is to have your show, Lungelo KM, invite these dope guests, build a name for yourself, and perhaps license your show to bigger channels so that it can generate income as well. Please expand on the dream for Lungelo KM. I think that in 2 years, I will have 200,000 subscribers, and that's why I'm shooting. Not necessarily why I'm shooting, but that's the consistency of why I'm shooting is driven by that I know that's going to happen in the next 2 years, right? That's for my channel. Anything that happens above and beyond that, I'll be shocked by it, but I wouldn't be surprised. Really. Where is Lungelo KM going on YouTube? And what do you want to do in the next 12 months? What do you want to do in the next 6 months? Where do you want to improve? would you branch out of YouTube, knowing what you know now, and be a TV star? Because I think you have, you have the look and the expression, being able to express yourself. Although you make more money now with your career,
yeah.
But I think you could be a star. Like you have the potential to be a star even on television.
I do believe that YouTube for me, and I'm learning much along the way by meeting people like you who've become YouTube gurus. YouTube for me, deep down, I've always wanted to be a broadcaster. YouTube gave me that platform without the red tape. So now I'm able to broadcast. Now, at my own pace, I'm honing the skill, becoming better and better at it, learning the intricacies of it, learning the business side of it, meeting different people who I'm going to learn from. I will be a broadcaster, and I think I will be a TV star, as you're saying. Will I jump at any opportunity? No, I'm not desperate. I think that's the difference with me. I have a career, and I'm not unhappy in my career. So it will have to be an opportunity that's absolutely meaningful, that allows me to still own my own time, that allows me to curate the content that still makes sense to the Lungelo KM brand as it is, and engineer your life. If you want to know what the Lungelo KM brand is that my podcast, it really is that. My brand, that's who I am. That's how I conduct myself. I can have a conversation with a person, and it can be about intricate topics, intelligent topics, even trivial topics.
Yeah.
But it still largely represents who I am. And if I'm going to partner with other people, they can't change me. So Nkululeko, you must send me a WhatsApp, even if you don't call me. If you now see me go and I'm club hosting, then I've lost it. Then I'm chasing fame. I'm not true to why I started.
Yeah. And the type of content as well, like you're still comfortable with everything. It could be like a person who perhaps has had celebrity relationships. If it's an interesting, because I had that mindset at the beginning, and then I've changed now. Like I'm like, even if 5 people watch this content, I'm not going to do anything demeaning towards black people, anything that's demeaning towards celebrities, that we just hear and blabbering about celebrities and bad-mouthing musicians. And I'm never going to do that again. Like, I'm not saying you must do that.
Yes,
I'm saying, are you feeling comfortable with every topic at this point? Like because I can see you versatile. You do politics, you do culture, you do pop culture and stuff like that. So you're still comfortable. There's nothing that you say, maybe this is a bit too far.
Funny you say that, because I feel like we reached this point at a similar time. If you go back 2-3 months ago, I tried doing a celebrity roundup,
I remember.
weekly thing.
I remember seeing that.
I couldn't, right? A month into it, I was like, this is not me. I'm actually not invested in celebrity stories.
Yeah.
Because if I need to do this, it means I must read up on celebrities, which is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not vested that much in celebrity stories. So I've gone back to who I am, and then I'm going to maintain who I am. Yes, I will have celebrity guests, but are you a celebrity that has a story to tell? Is your journey to how you became a celebrity good? And that's the type of content I'm shooting as well.
Yeah, there's a downside to it though.
Yeah.
There's a downside, because those celebrity content, like for me, I remember when I was building, I could see that, okay, we're averaging at around 10,000 people who watch these things, and then I think within 6 months it could have been like on 30,000, and then within 12 months you can build. But I was like, no, I felt sick physically just thinking about it.
Physically,
I was physically sick, like I was puking and stuff like that. I know it's an extreme definition or description, but that's what happened to me, and I was like, my spirit is telling me that it shouldn't do this. And I was conflicted. I was completely, if anyone could watch the last few episodes that I did about celebrities and stuff, you could see my facial expression. I'm already ugly, and I was uglier and uglier. And I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. But so there's a negative downside in that you are not going to get the numbers. So that's a shortcut to getting numbers. But if you don't do it, then you don't get the numbers. That's why Musa Kawula, it was already big on Twitter. But it was big because it was talking celebrities.
Yes.
And it was an easy transition when it goes to YouTube that those same people follow him. And the first few episodes, 50, 60, 70,000. 50, 60, 70,000.
How's this on Engineer Your Life? When I had you, we spoke about him, and now the channel, what happened?
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Just days later,
That's interesting.
and we were like, it's not sustainable. It's not
Yeah,
sustainable.
it's well, that's insight. Because I saw that the previous episodes are deleted. I think my 2 cents on it is that, and I've been thinking about it, internalizing it, and I said I don't care for him, but I'm thinking about it as a creator that you cannot create news out of nothing. If Musa was reflecting on things that were reported by Drum Magazine, News 24, Moja Love, MTV, whoever other news sources, celebs, if he was reflecting on what he saw and he could literally just pull up a screenshot of it with his celebs reporting this, and then he could add his spice and his negativity and his nonsense, right? That is acceptable. But if you can just pull a story out of nothing and say, DJ Smooth stole Zahara's awards, he did that. He once did that. DJ Smooth stole Zahara's summer awards. And Smooth was so gracious in that he said, I'm not going to pursue this legally. I'm going to let it be. And then people forgot about it because the news cycle is like 24 hours. He moved on to something else. So you're literally pulling something out of nothing. Boom. This person did this and that's it. That's problematic. But on YouTube, you can be consequenced because that's a fake story that is published on a platform that is monetized. Someone can go, you will be consequenced for that.
So do you think people reported his videos?
Absolutely. That's why
they're gone.
If you look at the numbers of the videos now, it was already raking
monetizable.
Up, raking up dope numbers. It still has the subscribers, but the number of views were already very high for his 6 or 7 episode that he had. Now you look at it, you can see that it's gone back to 100,000. It will still build up as well, but one thing is always and is going to have to always rebuild. And this is probably the first strike. If someone reported him and he was notified by YouTube, he's going to always build, and then YouTube takes it down, and sometimes they delete you forever. And then it's going to restart again, take it down again, and it's going to demoralize him. For as long as he creates a story about Lungelo, which did not happen, you can report on something that was reported by someone else and say, this journalist quoted you, Mr. Celebrity, saying this. And then you can add your spice, which is evil, but he's adding it and people are supporting him. It's fine. But you create something out of nothing. No screenshots of anything. Like some of the stories are just thumb-sucked or literally creating an evil story about someone that he doesn't like or whoever he works for doesn't like, and it becomes a story, and you can be consequenced by YouTube for that, because all I need to do is report and ask maybe 10, 20 other people to report it. YouTube asks me for receipts and I'm saying, no, this didn't happen. This is my ID, whatever it is that they require from me. These people are reporting about me. This is my ID. This is my information. This did not happen. And they could do a follow-up on that on such a story, and you could be consequenced for that. And then if you're consequenced severely, it means that you're going to start over again. You've already raked up 30-something thousand subscribers. You will have to start over again with a different Gmail account. And then when you start over again, you do the same thing because you're following the same model. Another fake story of something that did not happen. You're not reporting on something you saw and you're showing us a video clip. Go to this is what happened. Sometimes you just create something out of nothing. Yeah. And I think that it will be consequenced by that. So maybe back to my question to you about that type of content, like celebrity content. You're saying that you got to a point where it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And of course, personalities that will come into my show as content creators, you want that moment that was controversial in their life or that made them the celebrity that they are. Yeah. And you will get to that. But once again, if you watch my podcast, we get to that very neatly. We get to that very cleanly. We keep the dignity of the person intact. And the person doesn't leave feeling indignified or feeling like we were spewing evil things about them. Yeah. That's not me.
Okay. Masiva, Lega.
Shy.
What does the K stand for?
Lungelo KM. Okay. Literally my names. KM just literally. It sounded better as Lungelo KM.
Lungelo KM. Why did you decide to say Engineer Your Life, the name of your channel? Just because you're an engineer. I thought that was uncreative. Just because you're an engineer, your channel's name is Engineer Your Life.
It was uncreative, but get this. Remember, Lungelo KM, Instagram and Twitter is famous, infamous, whatever you call it, for being an engineer on social media. And brands hook onto you for being an engineer. So we need to extend the branding onto other platforms.
All right. And your studio situation, how is it now? Like, you're getting people to come to your place still?
Yeah.
And you're finding that's becoming easier, because we spoke about you potentially moving to Joburg long term because this is where the celebrities are at. I saw you. I just looked at your channel and I saw that at some point you spoke to Sel Beyonce.
Yes.
At some point you spoke to people where I'm like, I'm not satisfied with the numbers that it's doing because I know Sel Beyonce is known.
Yes.
I think it's on Ukhozi FM.
Ukhozi FM listened to by 4 million people a day.
Yeah, but even so I was like, nah, man, there's no correlation here.
Yeah.
But how do you plan to solve a problem in numbers? Do you want to do this, go the long haul, 2 or 3 years and see them picking up at some point? Do they stress you?
I think they have stressed me at a certain point. But also, I need to be cognizant of, we've spoken about this, that YouTube can't be your main hustle. So we need to be cognizant of other decisions that influence how quickly I can take decisions that will grow my numbers. So there are immediate things that can be done to grow numbers, which I'm learning as a very new creator. Like things like you saying, this is the sound that you must have. These are the lights that you must have. That's not something that needs school.
It's non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable, right? So in my opinion, there are episodes that have stars where a team or the people I use didn't do me justice with those things, with those fundamentals, those basics, which is definitely something that as you look at later episodes, you can see that it's great improvement has been made in those things, and the numbers are reflecting that. Because I think, as you're saying, the algorithm just picks it up that the lighting wasn't good, the sound wasn't good, you know? Yeah,
it's influenced by the people who are watching, because as soon as people pick up that I can't hear these people, then they stop watching after 1 minute. Because on average, most of my episodes are watched up to the 25th minute, which is a very good time. So the logic for YouTube is that they want to take an audience away from TV. So an average TV episode lasts for 22 minutes, 30 minutes. So if you can shoot an episode that people watch on average 18 minutes, 15 minutes, anything beyond 10 minutes, and a lot of people watch and they're staying there, YouTube is justifying itself. It's justifying that behavior as saying, okay, at least we've had people who stayed there for longer than what you would find on television on an average episode. Because people watch episodes for like 20, not the full 20 minutes, but episodes last for 20 minutes. But so anytime you do, that's why my model is I start with the best. I don't have a format of how I start my interviews, but I would like for people to get the best information at the beginning. So that they stay there, and it's a cliffhanger. It's like, what happens in the next, now that I got you for the first 10 minutes, what happens in the next 10 minutes? And if it's still good, and so on. So incrementally you get them to like minute number 20, minute number 30. There's nothing I can do about their lack of data, because we live in the South African context. There's nothing I can do about the other factors that I can't control.
Also, something that you complain about when I had you on my podcast is that, hey, abantu baseGoli basile man.
How are you finding them?
Abantu baseThekwini don't have a work ethic. That's my problem. You've got a different problem. Abantu baseGoli actually have a work ethic, but they're just manipulative and my problem is that abantu baseThekwini don't have a work ethic. First of all, they don't understand podcasting yet. I'm not saying, guys, I know everything. I'm not saying I know everything and I know everything on YouTube, but I haven't seen another podcast in Durban. So when you're trying to hire people, making them understand what their role is, what their shifts will be, they are still struggling. Only in the last month, actually, I've found 2 ladies who work for me now, and because they always say, please don't say our names on screen, I won't say because they're very shy. They get it, and maybe it's because they are after students. They just get it, that on set you must be on time, how to plan pre-production, what the camera views must be, if the lighting is bad, if the sound is bad. They tell me, so it's so refreshing to say, they'll say, no, sorry, the camera, it's too zoomed in, They tell me, people who get it.
Yeah. She's in charge of it. Where must I sit? Where must I move? She's like, I'm in charge of the content and getting the people here, but she's in charge of that. She knows I'm here. She must be here. That's
what I want, and I really hope I can build that in Nkululeko more than anything. Because I'm at peace to just sit down and speak. If all of that is taken care of.
I think you'll be okay, man. I think you'll be okay. I think the only worry, but unfortunately you're not poor. The only worry is that people get taken away from YouTube by television. You get quickly enticed. Like I've been able to be steadfast and say no, because you want me to be there in 8 hours, then no. like some TV stuff where it's like people want you to be there for meetings and 5 hours because they can see that, okay, the brand is now cooler on the football side. And I'm like, nah. No.
I think Nkululeko, we have enough of a template as podcasters now that you can stay the long haul and not succumb to signing off your rights of your podcast.
Absolutely.
You can stay the long haul and it will pay off.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I'm one of those people who believes in that.
Yeah. Lungelo has he has an interesting story that I'm not going to talk about here. You can go to his channel, Engineer Your Life, Lungelo KM. It's a tragic story, dramatic story, difficult story, where he was robbed, hijacked, taken to the graveyard, and people took money from his bank account. It's a very tough story. Please go to his channel, find it out. That way you would be supporting his channel too. But that's a very interesting story. Not interesting because it was fun, interesting because it's multi-layered, and it's something that people go through, from time to time. So I'm gonna reserve that. I'm not gonna ask him to go through and relive that difficult period here. Please go to his channel, Lungelo KM. However long you wanna take. Interview.
Thank you, Nkululeko, bro.
Yes, sir.
Is that what I say in Xhosa?
Yes, sir.
For just also, man, just being a cool gent, and we're building this community, bro. And hey, we never know what being kind to each other will do for each other in the future, and that's all we can ever be.
Yeah,
that's it. Let's spread kindness.
Thank you so much to everyone for watching us. Boom.